Hello and welcome. My name is Jake. I'm here with Justin, and we just played some Monster Hunter. Justin here, you've been a fan for quite a while. You're excited for this game.
Yeah, this Monster Hunter, it is definitely the best looking one in a while. I don't know if that's a fair comparison because the versions we've had previously have for quite a while been on mobile platforms. And I feel like that's kind of what we've associated Monster Hunter with. But this one, bringing it to the PS4 and the Xbox One, the PC, like you can tell how much care has gone into creating this world. Now, I think there are a lot of games, of course, that are better looking. Like, you're not going to look at this compared to Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that, but it's still a really good looking game. And I think that's something that stood out for you as well. As someone who's kind of dabbled in the series, what did you think of it visually?
Yeah, I thought it was a huge improvement. Of course, before it was on 3DS, right? And I think some some PSP games, correct?
And back in the day, it was on PS2. Back in the PS2 days, of course, it was something that really stood out. Like, there was something that pushed the PlayStation platform. But going to the mobile platforms after that, you're always going to have a sacrifice in graphics to some degree.
Do you think this is a good transition, based on what you played, from mobile to console?
So I think that's the really interesting thing about the game, is that it feels incredibly faithful to the original games.
For better or worse?
Definitely for better or for worse. Monster Hunter is known for being brutally difficult to get into. It is not a game as a game itself, it's not very friendly to newcomers. It really helps to have somebody who knows what they're doing, someone who's had experience with it. And going into it, it feels like a Monster Hunter game, which is great. Like, for somebody who's played Monster Hunter, you're able to jump back into the same weapons and the same roles and start taking down these monsters in a very, very familiar sense. For somebody who might be new to it, it'll be really interesting to see how they handle tutorials. I think that was something Monster Hunter Generations did a good job with. But Monster Hunter as a whole has always been known as one of those series where the best way to learn the game is by watching people play it on YouTube and having some in-depth explanations for how these combos work, how to put all of the learnings that you get from the game together, because it's very text heavy. That's something that we didn't really get a feel for, is how they're going to onboard new players. For returning players, you're going to be able to jump right into this game with the familiar iconography, with the familiar weapons, and just the really familiar gameplay. For someone who hasn't played as much, how did it feel playing the game? You've dallied around with it a bit. Did you think it was difficult? Did you think it was something that you could just jump right into?
I think it was easier for me to jump into as opposed to the handheld version. I'm kind of a sucker for visuals, and it's easier for me to get involved in a world like that. And I did play some of Monster Hunter 4. I played about 20 hours, but I have some friends who are really into it, and they all told me that is barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, you didn't even start the game. 20 hours. That's like tutorial.
That's basically what I've heard. So playing this and seeing the game with that kind of visual fidelity has me a lot more interested. I can definitely tell that 30 minutes or however much we played is definitely not enough for me to really understand what was going on. However, like I said before, I think that visual flair adds a lot. And I am definitely more interested in this than I would be if they were coming out with one on 3DS.
And the reason that it has been on mobile platforms for such a long time now is because that's the best way to get a group of people together. And I feel like, especially now with the architecture behind consoles like PS4 and Xbox One, that it is easier to get those groups together. And there's something that they're introducing to the game that they haven't done before, which is the ability to just jump into a game at any point. Previously, you would have to form a party.
A lot of menus you have to dig through.
And I'm gonna guess there's still quite a few menus. But if you need help, you're able to send up a flare, and if someone else is playing the game or they're on their PS4, they're gonna be able to jump into your game. And I think that is by itself just a huge game changer for making that more accessible.
So I think the biggest question, though, is, so Monster Hunter has always been pretty successful in Japan. Do you think Monster Hunter coming to PS4, Monster Hunter World, could be the breakthrough it needs in the US market?
I think the graphics are something that are obviously a hang-up for a lot of people. And visually, this is a game that I think is going to pique a lot more people's interest. Not being on 3DS, not being something that kind of looks like, I wouldn't say kiddie, because it's always been a really good-looking game, but not something that's compromising its visuals for its gameplay, because you have such a strong gameplay hook with Monster Hunter. It's something like, I mean, you look at Dark Souls. Dark Souls is brutally difficult. It's a game that not everybody can get into, and it takes a long time to really wrap your head around how to live in that world. And Monster Hunter is that same way. But Monster Hunter or Dark Souls is beautiful. Bloodborne are beautiful in a sense. They create really compelling visuals.
Atmosphere, yeah, is really well done.
And Monster Hunter, I think, has the chance to do that. I mean, right now we've only seen kind of jungle environment, but if there's a lot of variety and places you can go to, I think that's something that's really going to help this game. And then the other thing is, how well are they going to onboard new players? Because there are going to be a lot of people who never have played Monster Hunter, not even people who just played it back in the day. Like, I think this will be the first Monster Hunter for a lot of people, and if it's too punishing, if it's too hard to get into games, or if it's just too hard to find people to play with, that'll be the thing that doesn't allow Monster Hunter to succeed. As we've seen previously, there is such a strong community around these games. I think that's the thing that's going to help push Monster Hunter World to finally get at least a modicum of success, probably more success than any previous Monster Hunter game. I am really optimistic about this game pushing that Monster Hunter franchise, which has been so crazy popular in Japan, and making it at least something that is on a lot more people's radar in the US.
And when does this come out?
So right now there's not a firm release date. They're saying early 2018. So I'm guessing probably late spring, definitely before E3. I don't think they're going to wait that much longer to do it, but you also have to think there's a lot of stuff going on and to be put into this game. If it gets delayed, that's not terribly unsurprising, but right now it sounds like they're aiming for late spring.
Cool, I'm looking forward to playing that when it finally comes out in 2018. And for more Gamescom coverage, make sure to stay tuned to GameSpot. We're gonna have plenty of stuff coming at you, so hit that subscribe button. Thank you.